Welcome to Dark Sorcery. I'm Alfredo Martinez, and I have with me Les Houdeaux. How you doing, man?
How you doing today?
I'm doing good. It's good to have you on.
Hey, thank you, man, for having me on, man.
You're very, very welcome. And so go ahead and start out by telling us, how did your spiritual journey begin?
It began with just like uh living in Portland. And I kept going to this place called Pal's Books, and I knew there was, I was like really big into William Burroughs and stuff, but like I couldn't really understand it so much. I was like 18, so at that time I just kept going back, kept going back. I knew there was something. So like fast forward in years, I picked up some Crowley books, that I didn't really understand too much. And then ended up getting the Book of the Law. So I think that was like really easy to understand, you know. So I read that, and it was a trip because the apartment that I was living in at the time was the number was 418,
Okay.
and yeah, that's a trip. But then I read the book, and it kept me up all night. It was like, reading that book is like a pretty heavy invocation. I couldn't sleep afterwards. So I'm having like, like um visions of like all these like celestial beings. You know what I mean? Like kind of how they like describe it in the book. Like all these
Right.
like this weird thought forms, and these like just visions or whatever. And I stayed up all night, and then I had these other Crowley books, which was like Magick and Theory and Practice. Now I told myself one day I'm going to be able to understand that. And so like fast forwarding more, like around like 2009, I was watching some Venus Satanist videos.
Oh
on
yeah.
Yeah, she had a really good one on the Golden Dawn. So
Yeah.
I was just like obsessed. I had Anton LaVey's Satanic Bible.
Satanic Bible.
Right, but I didn't really understand it too much. So so the Golden Dawn, that was like for me. I liked all the symbolism. So I started doing the rituals, in there, doing the lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram, doing the hexagram rituals, and getting some serious results from it. It was like some really like real sick, some real like sick, having some really heavy synchronicities.
Yeah.
And it's like I was like contriving numbers and stuff like that. And somebody told me, this guy told me, it's like, I'm like, where am I? I keep seeing like all these same numbers. And he's like saying, like, it's probably from doing those rituals. So I started doing the hexagram rituals, and it was pretty much the same thing, where it's like everybody they see 111, 222, 333, etc. But if you do that hexagram ritual, you could see that every day,
Yeah.
not just like once a week or once a month or a week throughout the month. You will be in sync with those numbers every day. Um, if your clock could go up to 666, you would see that number. It's all the same thing.
Now, what I like about this story is that you didn't see, a lot of people will just do the LBRP, maybe something else, and then just stop. But you went ahead and with the hexagram and so forth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah, exactly. It was it. I've heard people say that the LBRP, that's what's going to get you to put your work down, and kind of help you lose interest. And a lot of Bellarmites, that's all they were doing is just doing these LBRP rituals. And it's like the real ritual that you wanted to do was the lesser invoking form, because that's gonna really get you in sync with things, and increase your sensitivity. Um, you know, yeah, make your skin crawl, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
help just like,
It'll
that's
also
that's the
just be more sensitive to the spirit world in general.
yeah. Just are you saying just period without the
Yeah, period.
yeah. Well, I am, I'm part native, and
Right.
so I think there's a lot to do with that, and why I had like an obsession, with I used to really be obsessed and have like, this kind of like, real interest much more than the next person, So I wanted to kind of learn everything that I could, so uh somehow I got my hands on the Voodoo Gnostic workbook,
Yeah.
and I was kind of like fretting on doing the rituals in there because it's like saying that it's gonna be forever and all this stuff. Well, I went on ahead and did it, and which I'm very glad that I did, today because it coincides with what I'm doing now.
Yeah. But other than those books that you have mentioned, is there any occult books that have greatly inspired you?
Um, those two, 777,
I have
I
that
know,
book. Yeah.
yeah. That book pretty much, I've been working with that one just pretty much like from way back in the day. I know how to work with that. I know how to
Yeah.
especially Cifra, you know, um, understanding gematria and stuff like that. So I would say it would be like the VGW, of course, the regular Goetia book with by Samuel Mathers and Aleister Crowley and 777.
Okay.
Um, that's kind of like my primary books. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could say, I'm really inspired also by Sorcerer's Cagliostro, the Blood Sorcery Bible.
Considering all that, how would you describe your magical style?
I would say it's basically like a just a practical form of like hoodoo, like
Okay.
not nothing really too deep, just some very basic plate magic,
Yeah.
hold on, hold on. I guess it would be like what people in the Middle East, a lot of Sufis or like magicians in the Middle East, they do a lot of weird plate magic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, but it would be much more like just demon worship, in its entirety, demonotry, jinn magic. Um,
Okay.
just remember what Crowley was saying, get plates, put the sigils on the plates, put the goetic symbols on the
Right.
plate, sigils on the plates. That stuck with me for some reason, and so I was like, I really want to do Goetia, and a lot of the people in the OTO, they were really scared to do it. None of them would do it, and which is really kind of a little kind of messed up because I think like a lot of the ball was dropped with a lot of Thelemites were doing um, demonotry and stuff like that. See,
Well,
it seemed like it's more
tell us
picked
about
up.
a bit about your time in the OTO.
Hmm?
About
About like I did my Minerval and then I did my first degree, so it's about like 2 years,
yeah.
And when those initiations were going around, I think it was a good idea for people to like try to like catch on to those, and because what you want mainly is the initiations, because that's gonna give you a good starting point, of help catapult your magic and stuff like that. I tell everybody who's getting into magic, go online and find one of these PDFs that, could initiate you, or self-initiate yourself into something, or into magic, because that's where you're gonna want to start. You're gonna want to start with some form of initiation, but a lot of people they don't really understand that.
Mm.
Um, so
Well,
uh,
what would you say are some like other things that early practitioners don't get right?
um, I think the psychology and learning about how to learning some of those basic rituals for to like really understand what parapsychology is, you know, or understanding that the way you were before you got into magic, keep that same personality, don't change, don't just because you got into Goetia or you get into Dark Sorcery or something, if you're an upbeat person, stay that way, you know? I think just a lot of the psychology of it is, where a lot of people miss, where, you don't, it doesn't have to change you into some like weird draconian person, or just,
Right.
unnecessary evil and stuff like that, or just, you know what I mean?
I think that some people like kind of underestimate their potential by putting themselves in some kind of a box, like saying, well, okay, I study this, so I'm going to do this path, and I study this, but you want to take some of that and then, go ahead and just mix it together. And like you said, don't deny who you are, be
Right.
yourself.
Yeah,
You know what I
be
mean?
yourself.
You gotta have your own twist to your magic, and not just be a carbon copy of what this author says or what this order does. Or do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree, I mean, mix it up, it is also, it should be something fun too, like it shouldn't just be something all super serious, and like I
It
think
shouldn't be
that
like a chore.
no, maybe in the beginning, you know what I mean? If you're doing things like those, what are like rote practices,
Yeah, if
practice,
you got to have self-discipline to get going, but I mean,
yes,
you know,
yeah, yeah, and
but I
in
see
your
what you
first
mean.
Yeah, in your first couple of years, you probably want to be use it as like a chore or something. Like I was doing those rituals like 3 and 4 times a day, and I don't know if that's necessary, but I was obsessed with the whole number thing. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
now,
everything
yeah,
is numbers.
everything is. It's crazy. I mean, it makes you think like, you know, are we living in some type of matrix or simulation? I don't really run too far with that. Or are we cyborgs? You know what I mean?
Well, you can look at it every, whatever way, any of those perspectives, and see some truth in it. But yeah, but basically numbers is the universal language. It
Right,
goes across all cultures, everything.
right, word. Have you seen one of my favorite memes is Alice in Wonderland. She's lifting up the curtain, and I guess like a curtain to like the wall, and it's like just a whole bunch of numbers.
I
Have you
haven't
seen
seen
that?
that meme. No.
Yeah, I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah, send it.
That pretty much like describes our existence.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's really understanding the patterns of how parapsychology works. And that's what those rituals were for. Um, is to help you open up your form of ESP or telepathy, with
Mm.
like the Earth's anima mundi, like the Earth spirit and stuff like that, instead of being like, going from like the halfway house of like a quote unquote new ager, now you can make this stuff happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
You had mentioned about going back to the OTO. What would you say are some misconceptions about the OTO that some people get wrong?
um, it would be like, you know, that it's a real kind of like super dark order. um I think let me think here. That's a good question. um it would just be Crowley in its entirety, and not understanding that it's it's an order like that's based on both white and dark practices. like it would be like a Luciferian in its entirety, but a kind of a basic form of that, you know. I think a lot of it, like if you're coming from like society standpoint, that it's like a really kind of like, yeah, super dark order or whatever, and that you're gonna go in there and they're gonna use you and stuff like that, and that everybody in there that they're just out to like be like lecherous and parasitic, and it's you meet a lot of really nice people, really kind-hearted people in there, people
Yeah.
that want to teach you something, um yeah, I think that's it, is that you can meet some really wonderful people in there.
Mm. Now, speaking of Crowley, out of all his books, which one of his books would you say is your favorite?
Um it would have to be the Book of the Law, you know.
Mm.
I know that might be typical, I mean, I could say
Hey,
777, but
I
that's
yeah, I started out with the Book of the Law, and it just drew me in.
yeah, it has that type of hold on you, it could have that effect on you,
Yeah.
and you go and you meet other people, other Thelemites, and they say the reason why they're here is because of the Book of the Law,
Mm.
um Magic in Theory and Practice is a good one,
Yeah.
um
But
yeah.
you had mentioned the Golden Dawn, and you know, I had a lot of fun with that. I still have a lot of fun with that. There's so
Oh, you
much.
do?
What's that?
You do?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
cool.
there's so much that that you can get into there, especially that's and I've mentioned this before about the Israel Regardie book.
Yeah, I have that one. That's the one I
Yeah,
have. The thick one, right? The real
yeah, the
big
bit,
one.
yeah,
This secrets of the Golden Dawn Temple right here, where he's like showing you how to actually make some of the tools and stuff.
yeah.
There's some pictures of them and stuff. There's some pictures around here somewhere, but he's showing you how to make the tools, and if you don't have any like serious like anything to really carve those tools and stuff, good luck.
Is there any, aside from all those, is there um any particular area, or should I say type of magic that you study besides what you had mentioned?
That was it, man. I was setting up to actually attempt to do the neophyte ritual, and then I think that's why I just stopped right there. And after just getting results from uh, the hexagram ritual and the supreme invoking ritual of the pentagram, you have the
Right.
regular pentagram, but I was doing the supreme one. I stopped and I kind of replaced the what is it, Minerva ritual from the OTO with over the neophyte ritual,
Mm.
and start doing all those like Star Sapphire, all the Phoenix ritual, those other like those basic Thelemic rituals, But it seemed like a lot of that stuff just faded out, and then it's like a lot of the whole the Lima and Crowley is kind of faded out now. I mean, you could honestly say that we are living in a post Crowley era.
Yeah,
People
you could
like,
say that,
yeah,
especially considering the information age. Yeah.
you have a few people,
I
but
think that there's a lot of chaos magic, a lot of I think there's a lot of people that are coming out with kind of their own system of magic, something that they haven't seen before. All these new authors and stuff. Because before back in the day when you would go to the bookstore, you there was books, but it was a lot of the same information rehashed. You know what I mean? And you're like, well, maybe you just kind of look for those golden nuggets here and there. Now you have new systems and new stuff that it's like, okay, I like this.
So, when I first started doing Goetia, I started having problems, because I was actually kind of I did the rituals. I did it like 3 times, and I I learned how to reverse that, and I was having problems as far as like having problems at work, losing stuff, mail being rerouted, having fallouts with people, whatever. And I knew it was because I had did the evocation, but I didn't continue to like do the work. And one of the best ways that you can start working with the spirit, just if you feel compelled to work with the spirit, you don't have to have any specific reason, Um, if you feel compelled to just work with it, work with that spirit, you know, and ask it, if you don't have any particular reason, whatever, ask it how to actually do it, how to do Goetia or how to work with it, Um, but you have to show up to class, and that's like
You know,
uh
and I would say that if you're, if you're not sure which deity to work with or which kind of spirit to work with, you can just go ahead and just say out loud, for the universe to bring that to you.
right, right. You know, um so in like 2018, I kind of like I started in 2016 working with it, pretty heavy. And so like 2 years after that, I was kind of like I was like, I'm just giving this thing energy. I'm just giving it liquor, candles, all this stuff, you know. Um where where's it go from here? Because it's just I'm about to quit, you know. I should get involved with like the meditational side to it. So I sat down and started like experiencing this like involuntary induced rocking, that it wasn't me, and all of a sudden like it started getting more and more, and I'm like, this is not me rocking, and all of a sudden like I start slipping into possession and having it ride me, so you know after a while, what it wants to do is it wants to start riding you in like a voodoo sense, you know, um, and you want to learn how to work with that, you know. It could be kind of scary, So I mean, it is a form of possession. It's a light form of possession. You're
Mm.
still very coherent, so you're going to be, breathing heavy, snarling, growling. And I think that's what the whole like howling is about. Is
Mm.
the possession side to it. You know, and then after that, you can take that work to the graveyard and learn about like basic necromancy and stuff like that, because
Mm.
that's what it leads to, especially working with Naburius. It's
Yeah, you had mentioned that that's a
necromantic.
spirit that you're wanting to get into working with
I've
deeply.
been working with that spirit for a long time now. you know
Oh,
that's what it is. It's a spirit of death, and that's how the work of Lucky Hoodoo, which is based on working with spirits of the death, it carried over to my Goetia work, you know? And yeah, it's all based on like you have like Boone, Naburius, and Glacial Ebolas. That corner is based on like necromancy,
yeah.
And then you have Sam and Gina, but I've been working with Naburius since about 2016, but now my work is kind of like just going into like more working at the graveyard and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So as far as necromancy goes, would you say that that's something you're pretty much familiar with?
Not too much, man, but I understand like the whole clairvoyance of it, and what it's based on, as far as like a very rudimentary or basic form, but I
Yeah.
don't haven't gotten like super heavy into it, but I understand that when it's time to go to the graveyard, that it's time to go, you know. And there's a
Right.
certain grave that I go to, and I give offerings and stuff, you know. And yeah. So I've been doing that for about a year and a half, you know.
Okay.
Um, Also, like what the one thing about working with Nefarious is that you know if there's somebody that you're close to, like in your family, that's coming to like the end of their life or whatever, it's gonna let you know that, and it's not it's not all unicorn and rainbows and stuff like that. I don't want to make it seem like this is like, just like something really easy. It could be really dramatic and really like hardcore, and it can give you premonitions of death and stuff like that. You have to be ready for that, you know.
Mm.
It's really serious stuff. Okay. And if you're willing to take that path on and do that, then by all means do it, but that's not work for everybody, and especially you've been doing it for a long time. It's really hardcore, and the symbols around the death and the whole synchronicities that you have, it can really kind of mess you up if you're not ready for it, whether it be a loved one or a pet, you gotta really
I
be
I think that a lot of people don't realize that even just working with demons in general, that if that can be, it can lead to that if you are not careful.
right,
You know,
right. That's why I
especially
say
just
just take on, huh?
no. Go ahead.
So I say just take on one in the beginning, you don't have to take on like do like, 50 something spirits or do the whole thing. If your mind isn't ready, just take one on for a long time and learn, you know, uh try to get the most out of it,